If silence has not happened to you, then knowing has not happened to you. Remember, there is difference between knowledge and knowing. Knowledge is your accumulations. Knowledge is your gatherings. But knowing is your realization. Knowing is your discovery. It is easy to become knowledgeable because it is easy to gather. The easiest thing that intellect can do is to gather, to accumulate, and claim that all that it has gathered it is its own. Knowledge is not knowing. Knowing comes from self-realization. Knowing is an inner phenomena. Knowledge is an outer phenomena. Knowledge is a superficial phenomena. Knowing is a deeper phenomena. When knowing happens, then your very personality will change. You will change. But it is not necessary that when knowledge happens, you will change. You will become intellectual, but a part of you will remain ignorant, resilient. A part of you will remain closed-minded, egoistic. When knowledge happens, there is certain fullness in you. You feel full. But when knowing happens, there is certain emptiness in you. Knowledge is fullness. Knowing is emptiness. And if knowing has happened to you, then silence will happen to you. If knowing has happened to you, then stillness will happen to you. If the silence has not happened, then nothing beautiful has happened to you. If stillness has not happened, then nothing significant has happened to you. If mystery has not happened, then nothing meaningful has happened to you. And when will silence happen? When will mystery happen? When will stillness happen? When knowing happens to you. Not knowledge. Knowledge is a profound chaos in your head. It is a chaos. Yes, not useless chaos. It is useful chaos. It is profound chaos, but it is at the end of the day chaos. You are lost in it. You are too full with it. Knowledge is the noise of intellect or song of intellect. It is better to call it song because it is profound chaos. It's melodious. It is soothing. But how much ever melodious a song is, it cannot compete with silence. Silence is the most melodious song. And silence cannot happen when knowledge happens. Silence can only happen when knowing happens. And remember, if silence has not happened to you, then knowing has not happened to you. The only check on the path of self-realization is check how much silent have you become, how much stillness has come in your being, how much stillness has come in your eyes. Not how many terms you know, not how much concepts you have understood, not for how many hours can you speak on a topic, not how many questions can you answer logically, in detail. Just check, had silence happened to me? Had stillness happened to me? If it has, then knowing has happened. Knowing will always come with silence and stillness. Knowledge will always bring with it a profound chaos. This is the difference between knowing and knowledge. Knowledge is the hard work of your intellect. Knowing is not. Knowing is what is beyond the intellect. Knowledge is what is in the intellect. And how much ever intellect can gather, yet it cannot bring anything which is beyond intellect. It cannot gather anything which is not dual. Intellect can gather only what is dual, not what's non-dual. Knowledge is the gathering of what's dual. Knowing is the experience of what's non-dual. And wherever there is duality, there is sound. And more duality, more sound, it's noise. And too much of duality is not just noise, but a chaos. But chaos can be enjoyed too. It's a chorus song and it sounds melodious. And that is why it is easy to impress a person with your knowledge, because it's a chorus song. A normal person can hear the song, but he cannot hear the silence. And that is why a knowledgeable person is able to impress a person very easily. But a person to whom knowing has happened, he is not able to impress a person quickly, because his very method is silence. His very song is silent. And you cannot hear the song which does not have a tune, which does not have a word. You cannot hear the song which is just silent, which does not even sound like a song, which does not sound at all. And that's why knowledgeable people are able to impress you, because they can sing, they can use words, they can use terms, they can answer your questions. Knowledge is a chorus song, a profound song that you can hear, but it cannot compete with the song of silence. It cannot compete with the melody in silence. And it will take a lot to listen to the melody of silence. That's why you cannot recognize a person to whom knowing has happened. He is too silent, he is too still. So still that it seems that nothing has happened to him. You think that if something would have happened, then he would be singing. He would be talking, he would be teaching, he would be sharing, he would be guiding. He would be having lots of terms, concepts, philosophies, the ability to articulate, the ability to answer. But this is where you miss that beautiful realized being. You get hooked to knowledge, and that's why you get hooked to knowledgeable person, and you end up concluding that knowledge is knowing. A knowledgeable person is a realized person. And then eventually you get befooled. They end up exploiting you. Because knowledge is not knowing. Whenever knowing happens to you, silence will happen to you. Stillness will happen to you. Your eyes will change. Your face will change. Your life will change. There will be mystery. There will be beauty. This is the check. Remember, if you have not become silent, then you haven't reached. If you have not become still, then you have not made it yet. If your answers don't bring silence to you, then they are wrong answers. If your concepts have not brought stillness in your eyes, silence in your being, then they are useless concepts. If your findings have not brought silence to you, then your findings are wrong. No matter how profound they may be, it doesn't matter. How much you know concepts is not the yardstick of how much you know. That is the yardstick of how much you have knowledge, not of how much you have known. Knowledge is not the yardstick of knowing. Silence is the yardstick of knowing. If knowing has happened to you, then silence will be there with you. Then stillness will be there in you. If your answers have not brought you stillness, then they are wrong answers. If your path you are walking on is not bringing you silence and stillness, then the path is wrong. If the Guru is not bringing to you silence and stillness, then you need to move on. Silence and stillness is a yardstick of knowing. Silence and stillness is the yardstick of how much you have walked, how much you have reached, and how much you have to reach.